we're here with Steve with FS, is that correct? FS?
Face.
A face dustless blasting. And he's about ready to do this duster. He's explaining to me about the media. Could you kind of fill it in a little bit?
What we use is crushed glass. It's food-based product glass, so it's beer bottles, wine bottles, pickle jars that are ground up. It's about the consistency of table salt, but it's considered a natural substance, so it doesn't have to be picked up or anything necessarily, but it does a really nice job cutting through the paint and the rust to make sure that we've got a really nice finish on it in a paint-ready surface. Doesn't leave any residue on the metal when we're done, so basically you blow it off, wipe it off, and it's ready to paint.
That's all we really want. So he's going to get to work. We'll show you the process, and hopefully any questions we'll get back to you later. But this will be the process.
Yep.
Okay, so as he's getting ready, he showed me some of here's the media. Okay, all right, real fine, and like you said, it's got the sharp edges on it, whereas sand, when you look at it, it's actually very round and takes a lot more. That's probably why the friction is so bad and the heat distortion. But that's what it looks like. It looks like salt with seasoning in it. So yeah, kind of cool. Okay, so one thing that he's clearing up for me, if you've noticed, we was calling it dustless blasting. That's kind of the overall product, I guess you can say, of how it's marketed. But you see there's no water and there is some dust. Well, he explained it to me is because the media, that glass, has the sharper edges on each granule, more so than like sand, which, like I said earlier, is kind of round when you look at it really close. The warpage that comes from the sand is from that working so hard and just repeatedly hitting and hitting and hitting, you know, and that's what gets the heat generation, and then you'll warp it or tear out too much. This, it does it quicker because it's sharper. It, you know, basically dings the rust and dings the paint and it blows it off, and he can just move a little quicker. That's why it looks like it's actually literally going quicker. I asked him about the dustless, the moisture, like the power wash, and that's how I'd been explaining it. But he said, you know, and there's a lot of debate about that's not recommended for cars. He said, really, because yeah, unless you're in a rotisserie and you got time to spin the thing around and wash it all out, cases like this you don't want to use it. So it's basically a dust dry blast, but it's that glass, basically what I showed you earlier. It needs to look like that, almost like seasoned salt. Okay, and it's like he said, beer bottles, you know, green, brown, clear, pickle jar bottles, stuff like that, cans, jars, and stuff like that. It's like a food grade glass is what it is. It's like traditional sandblasting, but with a better media. Okay, almost, you know, a lot of people do walnut and coal black, stuff like that. So like I said, he's going to reload and get the rest of it, and we should be good.
Now is a great time to like and subscribe.
All right, we're back. Steve from the face is gone. We have the duster blasted. Okay, so like we kind of went over earlier, it's going to need a lot of blowing out, but the good thing is that it's dry blast, so it's not wet, it's not all caked in there. So we can blow it out, different angles through all the holes, like in frame rails and stuff, in the cowl, and so we'll deal with that here in a bit. pretty happy with it. It was under $700. That's around 3 hours. So really good price considering what you're getting. You're getting all this cleaned up. And what I'm going to do before we do the epoxy, all these little nooks and crannies areas and darker areas where it's kind of the old rust that was where it first settled in, I'm going to probably do that in Eastwood rust encapsulator. So we'll do that real good, and then we'll put the epoxy over top of everything there, and we should be ready to start cutting and getting into our areas that are bad and getting the shell back in order before we start putting all the panels on. But I'll show you kind of up close some of the stuff. It does leave a lot of sand, which if you got a sandblaster, you could probably filter it all down, get all the impurities and the sticks and the rocks and all that stuff out of it and reuse it. That's what I'm going to do. I got a pretty big pile going here. I'll show you that. So you can use it to your advantage. So you saw a lot of the stuff coming off of it, and it leaves a nice little profile. I would say enough for your paint to really stick good. You can kind of see it has that metallic-y look to it, and a little bit of the darkness. That's what it leaves. I mean, I'm sure you can stay on that and get it out of there, but we'll use encapsulator over all these seams, all these areas, and I'll probably just put a good coat on this under structure here that we have. Obviously some of this is going to get cut out and we'll have to treat the areas behind it. So we have a lot of work to do, but this really cuts down on what we have to do in the full scheme of things. You can see some of the old sealer. This is a rust area I knew about. I was curious how much it would eat it out, and it really wasn't much more than I thought. Areas like this, they're always a little bit of a surprise. Not a big deal. I mean, it's just a little piece you have to spend a few minutes cutting out. We knew these were bad. It just kind of got the rest of it out. Up under here, looks pretty good. You can still see some remnants of the old factory undercoating that was really thick. So we got that up here. Looking pretty good. We knew these areas were bad here and here. These are very common to rot out on these A bodies. So we got that. And over here, looking pretty good in here too. Until you get around to here, obviously we knew, I think I have a piece to replace this whole section here from AMD. So not really too worried about that. Knew it was pretty thin in here. This was a hole already. And we'll get in the back side of this and fix some of that. Up in here, here's an area I found out recently, part of the cow. That'll be a little touchy to fix on that curve and kind of back in there. But it should handle pretty good. And just a lot of leftover, you know. I told them not to do these because they're going to get cut out, and we're going to do that right later. This all cleaned up pretty good. You can see where the seat belt anchors were. All up in there. Structure. You got the roof pretty good. Got around the troughs and the gutters. It's a lot of cleaning up on our part. Back here, pretty good. Knew this was pretty bad up in here. From about here, really from about here down. So we can use this as a template, refabricate, and then cut it out and replace. Same thing back here, all this kind of stuff. We leave it intact as much as we can so we can get a good original template on it, off of it. Got up there around the window channels there. A lot of this will get cut out and replaced, but it just kind of extended into where it was really bad. I knew these areas were bad in here, so we'll replace kind of this section, probably from about here behind this panel, from about here back with just some steel with some properly cut holes. And I'm sure we'll find more. Well, this will get treated with Eastwood inside of here. That's probably the difference with, you know, if you go chemical, it'll eat all that out through there. But a lot of it's so vague and so light that you can just have it coated with internal frame coating, and, you know, with the needles and the straws and all that stuff, and get it back in there. Same thing on this side with that. Places like that there and there. Pretty good up inside the wheel well though, otherwise. And we've pretty much been around the car. just some little areas. I think there where it thinned out, where your floor pan sets. So really pretty happy with it. We do have a little bit of pinholing right here, and we got some larger holes here. Now this is a non-AC car originally, and that Duster, I'm sorry, this is the Duster. The Dart back there is an AC car, 75 model. We're gonna see if some of that would interchange since it's on a couple of bends there. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's right here. That's where it's at. I don't think that changes much, but we can maybe see if we can fit that in or just put in patches and smooth it all out. So really, like I said, we got our work cut out for us on just the body alone here. But once you get that done, then the rest of it's gonna be pretty much place and fit. But oh, let's check out the underneath here. Let me get under here. There's some ugly looking stuff there. I think they had a pinion snubber up there, so we might have to clean that out. And some of the old mouse nest, he blew it around. Got that out of there. Look like some more here. So like I said, we'll blow all this out and get us some encapsulator, get it all squared away, sealed up really good, epoxy primer, and we'll be good. Now, last part, like I said, the sand, or basically the glass. So I got a pretty good pile right here going. Got a pile over there too. So like I said, I'm gonna keep all of this, and it'll probably be a little bit dulled, but that's okay. We can use it for a sandblaster. And I got a project coming up soon. We're gonna build our own sandblaster big enough to do a lot of our larger parts. But I'm gonna get all this swept up, get the bulk of it out of the way, because it does leave a mess. So just prepare for that. And like I said, it's better than the dustless, where it's, you know, the moisture involved, everything cakes up. And that's pretty much it. So stay tuned for more on this Duster. We're gonna get into all this sheet metal here soon, since we've got a lot of the van work out of the way. And make sure you stay tuned. Like, subscribe, give us a share for your friends. And thanks for coming. See you later.